The Stars have officially arrived in Knoxville, Iowa. How's everybody doing? I'm Jay Elson, and this is Midco Motorsports. Well, the 360s may not traditionally command the same share of the spotlight as the 410s, but anytime Kyle Larson throws his hat in the ring, it's worth your attention. The defending Knoxville Nationals champ did just that last week as he joined the field for the 360 Nationals for the first time since 2013. Defending champ Gio Scelzi was the guy everyone was gunning for Thursday. He started third for the night's 20-lap main event, just behind Thomas Kennedy, and it was that 21K that gained initial control of the point after a quick battle with fellow front-row starter Garrett Williamson. 5 laps in, Kennedy gets some company in the form of Sam Haferteep Jr. The 15H sticks the slider in turn 2 to overtake Kennedy for the lead. A few cars back, Scelzi starting to get that 18 machine hooked up. After picking off Kennedy for third, he goes to work on Williamson. Look at him sprint past the 24 to grab the runner-up spot. But the one guy he couldn't catch was Haferteep, the Sunnyvale, Texas native, making a habit of this as he wins on night 1 of the 360 Knoxville Nationals for the second straight year. Scelzi was second, with high point man Aaron Reutzel rounding out the podium. Friday's field included Larson along with 4 past champions, and from that group, no one was more dialed in than Brian Brown. Blackjack wasting no time at all as he took second, then first to lead lap 1 ahead of Sanborn, Minnesota's Christopher Traum. Lap 5, couple of those other former champs duking it out for 4th, and it's Terry McCarl surging ahead of Wayne Johnson. Brown back to the pack for a restart with 13 to go. Traum does his best to keep up, but the 21 pulls away again. Meanwhile, McCarl still working, and he'd edge a little closer to the front right here, zipping around Traum for second. But that is where the climb came to an end for T-Mac, because no one was going to catch Brian Brown. He led all 20 circles for his 16th career 360 victory at Knoxville Raceway. McCarl was your runner-up, with Linton Jeffrey finishing third. As for Larson, he climbed 13 spots to come home 8th. Of course, it all came down to Saturday's main event. Linton Jeffrey and Reutzel had earned the right to lead the field to green based on points, and a great start for the 8 car puts Reutzel in the driver's seat. Jeffrey was second, with Sioux Falls native Clint Garner sliding back up to third before the end of lap 1. A couple of trips later, here comes Thursday's winner. Haferteep nearly taps the front tire of Brown as he takes over the 4 spot. Next time around, an even closer call for the 15H as Haferteep does make contact with Garner as he muscles into podium position. But the number 7 starter still wasn't done. Lap 6, Haferteep steers clear of Jeffrey as he takes over the runner-up spot. Of course, that meant Reutzel was the only one left in front of him, and while Haferteep would get his shot just after the white flag, it wasn't quite enough. Reutzel holds him off to complete a wire-to-wire run to the 360 Knoxville Nationals crown, completing the 30 circuits in a track record time of 9 minutes and 4 seconds.
That's how I wanted the race to play out. I just wanted to go green to checkered so I can run in lap traffic and try to hide a little bit. We were off in our hot lap. We were off all week, and honestly a little bit, but we just didn't have the speed that we've been having. And I don't quite know what the deal was, but we were able to get up front and, like I said, go hide in traffic and make the best of it. Just try to make the best laps I could make, and it all worked out good.
Less than 24 hours later, the focus officially shifted to the 410s in their final pre-Nationals tune-up. We'll recap the 11th annual Cappy Classic when Midco Motorsports rolls on.
You're watching Midco Motorsports, presented by My Place Hotels.
The Capitani Classic is as valuable of a non-nationals race as there is at Knoxville Raceway. Of course, it's not so much about the money that's involved on that first Sunday in August as it is about the bag it can help you win the following weekend. Just look at the record book, which shows the last three Cappy winners, Brad Sweet, David Gravel, and Kyle Larson, as also the last three names in the list of Nationals champions. Sweet and Gravel were among the 24 drivers that qualified for Sunday's 25-lap finale, but it was two of their World of Outlaws rivals, Logan Schuchart and Donnie Schatz, that would command most of the attention. Schuchart's 1S was first to take center stage as he drove around pole setter Cy Lynch just before the end of lap 1. 360 Nationals champ Aaron Reutzel tried to throw his name in there as well as he jumped from 4th to 2nd on an early restart. But here comes Donnie. Lap 7, he pilots the 15 machine past Tyler Courtney for 3rd, then gets right to work on Reutzel, ultimately steaming into the runner-up position with 16 to go. And from that point on, it was all about him and Schuchart. A great battle ensues, with Schatz edging past the Shark Racing entry with 9 laps remaining. Schuchart didn't back down, though, and he gets Schatz back exactly 1 lap later. But Schuchart's luck would be put to the test shortly thereafter. With 5 to go, Brady Bacon's car suddenly slows right in front of him, forcing Schuchart into the wall. The key here, though, was that Schuchart managed to keep his car rolling so he'd get to keep his spot for the restart. And while Schatz kept things tight when they got back to green, Schuchart managed to fend off the 10-time Knoxville Nationals champ to earn a thrilling win in the 11th annual Capitani Classic. Well, the engines are getting ready to fire at Knoxville Raceway tonight, but before they do, we've got one final primer. Coming up, Brian Shawn and Sprint Car Unlimited's Jeremy Elliott will set the stage for this year's Nationals.
You're watching Midco Motorsports, presented by Huset's.
The 61st Knoxville Nationals will officially get underway just after 7 o'clock tonight, with roughly half of the 100-plus drivers taking what they hope will be their first step towards sprint car immortality. Brian Shawn is as excited about that as anybody, and we'll send it down to him now for a special edition of Inside Track presented by My Place Hotels.
Beautiful blue skies, and finally we have reached the 61st annual NOS Energy Drink Knoxville Nationals presented by Casey's, and we're pleased to be joined by Jeremy Elliott, the editor and publisher of SprintCarUnlimited.com, covering everything sprint car across the entire nation and the globe. But you are based out on the East Coast, and that's kind of where your background is from, and people in our area may not understand how big sprint car racing is in Pennsylvania out there.
It's huge. It's the biggest area in the country for sprint car racing, and luckily I was born there and still live there, but I like to get out to places like Knoxville, Eldora. I've been to California, kind of all over Charlotte at the end of the year is important because that's where all the silly season stuff kind of kicks up. So, yeah, I mean, Pennsylvania is a great hotbed for sprint car racing. It's known across the country, and like I said, I'm just lucky that I'm based out of there.
Yeah, and Pennsylvania is a place, too, that people don't know. The Pennsylvania posse, they kind of have this, I don't want to say it's animosity, but certainly a competition towards the World of Outlaws when they come out there. They take it very seriously when the Outlaws come to town.
Oh, yeah, it's huge. I would say the Pennsylvania people take it more serious than the Outlaws take it even. It's kind of like the Eagles and the Cowboys. Cowboys don't consider the Eagles a rivalry, but the Eagles certainly consider Dallas a rivalry. So, yeah, no, it's huge when they get to Williams Grove, Lincoln, Port Royal, places like that. And it filters out to when the posse guys travel out to Eldora or like the Knoxville Nationals.
Speaking of Knoxville, one of the names, the trendy names from your neck of the woods over the last month and a half is Brent Marks. That's a guy that everybody's kind of wondering, can he continue to put it together the way he has? Had the big week at Eldora, won the historical big one, won the Kings Royal, beat the Outlaws at Williams Grove earlier this year. Is he a favorite? Is he not a favorite? Where does he fit into the mix here?
You know, I've been thinking about that probably since he won the Kings Royal and historical big one. He's not as good here as he is Eldora. I even said earlier in the year he has a really good chance of winning at Eldora. It's a place he's always been good at. Knoxville, not as strong, but then again, he won in July here. So or June here, I'm sorry. But then he finished 22nd the second night. So he's good here. He made the A main last year, started in the top 5 last year. So I think he's one of the favorites. I think he's going to be a factor. And I think the other interesting thing about Brent Marks is he didn't race all weekend. He took the weekend off. He didn't run the Ironman at Peevely. He didn't run the Capitani Classic, and he didn't run the Front Row Challenge. So they're doing things on their own terms to qualify, to get as many points as possible, and really set up their Knoxville Nationals.
Kyle Larson, the defending champion. Is he the favorite? Who would you consider the favorite here? Or maybe there isn't one this year.
I think this year's a little more open than ever. You know, normally we come in here and it's Donnie Schatz, or that's the name we all know. Kyle Larson, obviously, I think the last couple years has been that guy. And, you know, you'll get a Brad Sweet and a David Gravel. This year, you know, Donnie's not, I would say, the team's not as good as it's been, obviously, with the Ford power plant. They've struggled over the last few years. So he's not the clear-cut favorite. David Gravel struggles in dirty air this year, I think. Not clear-cut favorite. Carson Macedo, he has some peaks and valleys. Brad Sweet, and he's only won on a half mile, I think, once in the last 40-some races. So then Kyle Larson isn't qualifying as well, but he won at the Front Row Challenge the other night, and he said he felt really comfortable. That's dangerous for the field. So I think it's a little more wide open, but I think you got like 5 or 6 guys there who I think hit that favorite category.
There's been a lot of multi-day shows added this summer, more big money shows, more money is coming into the sport. But it feels like Knoxville has the edge just because of all the other stuff going on, all the fan events. Is that what makes this one special?
Yeah, look, it doesn't pay the most or until they upped it to $175,000 there in the last week or two. But prestige, this is the one everybody wants to win. The towns around it, it's all the hoopla around it, it's the crowd, it's the lights, the glamour, the glitz that we all talk about. And it's the guys who've won this in the past. It's the history of this race. The big check doesn't hurt either. But yeah, it's the granddaddy of them all, as they say. It's the Daytona of sprint car racing.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time, Jeremy, coming over. And again, be sure to check out Jeremy's stuff on sprintcarunlimited.com. Has a lot of content on there, both in the written word, also with his podcast. So thank you for your time.
Oh, no problem. It's a pleasure.
All right, thank you, Brian. Should be another amazing weekend in Knoxville, and we will have a full recap of all of that action for you on next week's season finale of Midco Motorsports. Well, Matt Juhl is one of several Dakota guys that will be trying to earn a spot in Saturday's main event. We'll have more on the driver of the 09 machine when we come back.
You're watching Midco Motorsports, presented by My Place Hotels.
Sometimes what we think we want isn't actually the best thing for us. Matt Juhl recently learned that in his racing career, and while he was obviously disappointed, he was also grateful for the fresh perspective he gained through the experience. More on that in this week's Driver Spotlight. After years of being viewed as the young guy, Matt Juhl has reluctantly achieved veteran status.
I started racing 360s when I was 20, and I'm 32 now. But I think we started in 2016 with a 410. So been doing this for now 6 years, I guess.
Racing regularly at Huset's, Jackson, and Knoxville, Juhl has made plenty of connections throughout his career. In 2021, that helped open the door to the type of opportunity every driver dreams of.
That's the whole goal, I mean, in someone's career is, you know, obviously not paying the bills, and, you know, this is a family-owned car always. And obviously it's really tough to be competitive in the 410 class, and it takes a lot of money. So, you know, we teamed up with Troy and Tammy Renfro there.
Unfortunately, Juhl would learn quickly that life as a paid pilot comes with an entirely different set of challenges.
Being a hired guy to drive and being an owner, I don't know which one's tougher, to tell you the truth. It was probably not quite half a year, and then we ended up splitting. But, you know, that's kind of the way things work sometimes. It just wasn't working out for either of us. We both still get along just great, and, you know, we just had to move on.
Juhl still values the experience he had with TKS Motorsports, but has pressed on with his own race team. While still working toward their first 410 feature win at Huset's, Juhl and his crew are currently locked in a tight 3-way battle for the track championship.
I try not to look at points weekly or anything like that, and we've had struggle nights here, and I think every team's kind of had the same struggle as us. You just have one or two of those bad nights that can really hurt you, but I think everybody's had those this year, which has been kind of a weird year because we just feel like we haven't been on our A game every weekend. So to be in second right now and have a chance to still win the points is huge, and we just need to take advantage of it and not focus too much on it. But obviously, if we can get a track championship here at Houston, it would be really awesome for the team.
Now, Juhl holds a 1-point lead on defending track champion Justin Henderson with 3 races remaining at Houston this season. The first of those is scheduled for Sunday, August 28th. Meanwhile, the show rages on at a number of other tracks in our region. We'll wrap things up with a look back at last week's action at River Cities and Rapid Speedways after this.
You're watching Midco Motorsports, presented by Houston.
While limiting himself to just 3 total events through June, Austin Pierce still managed to hit his typical midsummer stride at River City Speedway, recording 2 wins in the month of July. Friday, the 2-time defending track champ hoped to continue that surge as he and those NOSA Sprints kicked off their August slate in Grand Forks. To the legendary Bull Ring we go, where the Wissota Street Stocks were first to hit the track. Joe Potter leading from the pole, but he'd get some company with 10 to go. Kyle Dykoff inches past on the inside, and the driver out of Starbuck, Minnesota would finish it off from there. Dykoff's first start of the season at RCS ends with his 17th overall win of 2022. To the Midwest Modifieds, Jamestown Scott Bentz was out front until lap 10 when Argusville, North Dakota's Reese Stenberg worked his way past the 1S. Meanwhile, 7th starting Matt Scow also surging toward the front, and he'd be putting the pressure on Stenberg before a caution came out. Scow stayed within a car length after the restart, but Stenberg held her steady to claim his first win of the year in Grand Forks. Tyler Peterson came from 16th to win the last time the Wissota Modifieds visited RCS, but this was not his night. Nowhere for him to go here as Shawn Tunis spins in front of him on lap 1, and just like that, he was done for the night. Once they got things going, it was all about Joseph Thomas. The Glendon, Minnesota native caught a little flack from Ward Emery in the 10W, but other than that, it was smooth sailing as he notches win number 3 on the season. Then it was time for Pierce and those NOSA Sprints. All that 2A had to do was handle its business from the pole. Pierce appeared poised to do just that as he settled in ahead of Mark Dobmeyer. It did get a little dicey later, though, as Pierce bangs wheels with the lap car of Jack Croker, sending the 8-ball over the corner pocket. Pierce's ride actually checked out okay from that, and he needed it to because Dobmeyer would continue to hound him the rest of the way. Pierce prevails, though, winning for the 3rd time in his last 6 starts at River Cities. The late models rounded out the evening, and there'd be a quick lead change with Jesse Tunis flying around Cole Babcock on lap 2. But Tunis' tenure up top would be short-lived as the veteran Brad Sang overtakes him on the lap 5 restart. Sang would have a longer run in that spot, but Joey Peterson was coming on strong. With 5 to go, the 7P found that race-winning speed up top as he drives by Sang en route to his 2nd win of 2022. On to Rapid Speedway now and the annual Dave Boulder Memorial. We pick it up with the USRA Hobby Stocks. Our guy Levi Vanderweide grabbed the lead in the opening laps, but the 6 car of Dustin Gulbranson was hot on his heels. Lap 5, Gulbranson completes the pass and moves to the head of the pack. It was mainly a 2-horse race from there, but Gulbranson was just a little quicker as he outruns the 8 for his 4th victory of the season at Rocky.
I had a lot of fast cars in front of us, so we knew we had to just hit our marks and try to get as many spots at the beginning of the race as we could. Knew Levi was going to be tough to pass. Nick Brady's always tough when he starts up front and the top's good. He's always fast, so just had to make the first couple laps count and try to get up ahead of those guys and try to stay up there, and we were able to do that.
The stock cars were next. Lots of contenders early on in this feature, but it was Colton Ahrens that wanted it most. The 46 bounces from 6th to 1st in 1 lap to gain the lead. Chad Loneman got sent to the back for jumping the initial start, but he quickly got back in the mix, working his way into a battle for second. But nobody had anything for Aarons. The Laverne, Minnesota native gaps the field and increases the gap in the standings as he scores his 7th win of the season in Rock Rapids. Points leader Dustin Cruz started on the pole for the USRA B-Mods feature, and he had that 6-car dialed in. Cruz would get a few challenges on restarts, but every one of them ended with Cruz pulling away. He led all 15 laps for his 6th win of the season, but his night didn't stop there. The top 4 of the feature would go to a 4-lap trophy dash, and while Cruz started 4th for that, the end result was the same. He got right back to the front, capped off an excellent night by claiming the 6-foot Dave Mulder Memorial Trophy.
Watching the stock car race, guys looked really good in the bottom, so started pole and stay on the bottom, and the rest was history. And then we did that 4-lap invert, thinking 4th place, like in 4 laps, like, man, it's gonna be tough, but man, the seas just parted just perfectly where I was able to get through traffic and get that trophy as well. The last couple weeks we've had some really tough luck with bent shocks and other things, and so it was good to get a win.
All right, well, that is going to do it for us for this week. For Brian, Shawn, and our producer Levi Vanderweddy, I'm Jay Elson. Enjoy the races, everyone. We'll see you back here next Wednesday night for the season finale of Midco Motorsports.